You're standing outside right now and the Earth looks flat. Not kind of flat. Completely flat. In every direction. As far as your eyes can reach. Flat. The ground doesn't curve. The horizon doesn't bend. Everything your body is telling you in this moment is pointing toward one conclusion. And that conclusion is wrong. You know it's wrong. You've known it since you were a child. Someone told you the Earth was round, and you believed them. Because why would they lie about that? But here's the thing, nobody ever asks. How did anyone figure that out? Before satellites, before telescopes, before anything that could actually show you the shape of the planet you're standing on. How do you look at something this enormous, something so big your entire life happens on a fraction of its surface, and figure out it's a sphere? The answer is one of the strangest intellectual journeys your species ever took. And it starts not with a scientist or a philosopher or a genius. It starts with a shadow. Your earliest ancestors didn't think about the shape of the Earth at all. And why would they? When you're spending every waking hour finding food, avoiding predators, keeping your children alive through winter, the geometry of the planet underneath you is not a pressing concern. For roughly 290,000 of the 300,000 years your species has existed, the shape of the Earth was simply not a question anyone was asking. The ground was flat because it felt flat. The sky was above. The ground was below. That was enough. But then something happened that your ancestors couldn't explain away. And once they noticed it, they couldn't unnotice it. Think about the last time you watched a lunar eclipse. The moon goes dark. Slowly, a shadow creeps across it, and the edge of that shadow, if you look carefully, is curved. Always curved. In every eclipse, from every location on Earth, at every angle. A flat surface doesn't cast a curved shadow from every angle. Only a sphere does. Your ancestors noticed this. Not once, not by accident, repeatedly, over generations of watching the sky with nothing else to do at night. Greek philosopher Aristotle documented it around 350 BCE, pointed directly at lunar eclipses as evidence the Earth was round, said, "Look at the shadow your planet casts. It's always curved. Draw your own conclusion." But here's what matters for you. Aristotle wasn't the first person to notice this. He was just the first person to write it down. Your ancestors were watching that curved shadow for thousands of years before anyone put it into words. Sitting around fires. Looking up. Noticing something didn't add up about the flatness they assumed. The evidence was always there. They just had to know what they were looking for. But noticing a curved shadow and proving the Earth is round are two completely different things. And here's where your ancestors did something that should genuinely impress you, because one of them didn't just argue the Earth was round. He measured it. Around 240 BCE, a man named Eratosthenes was living in Alexandria, Egypt. He had heard something that stuck with him. In a city called Siena, roughly 800 kilometers south, on one specific day each year, the sun shone directly down a deep well at noon. Perfectly vertical, no shadow. On that same day in Alexandria, a vertical stick cast a shadow. If the Earth were flat, both sticks would behave the same way. No shadow in either place. Or shadow in both. But they didn't. And Eratosthenes understood why. The Earth's surface was curved. The sun was hitting it at different angles in different places. So he did something extraordinary. He measured the angle of the shadow in Alexandria, found it was about 7 degrees. Then he calculated if 7 degrees corresponds to 800 kilometers of distance, what is the full circumference of the sphere? His answer, roughly 40,000 kilometers. The actual circumference of the Earth is 40,075 kilometers. 2,200 years ago. No satellites, no technology, just a stick, a shadow, and a brain that refused to stop at the obvious answer. Your ancestor measured the planet with a stick and got it almost exactly right. But here's the part of this story that should genuinely unsettle you, because knowing the Earth was round and actually believing it in your daily life are two completely different things. For centuries after Eratosthenes, after the measurement, after the proof, after the math was sitting right there for anyone to check, most ordinary people still experienced the world as flat, still made decisions based on a flat mental model, still told stories where the Earth had edges, not because they were stupid, because the flat Earth is what your senses tell you every single day. You feel stationary right now. You feel the ground beneath you as solid and still and flat. Nothing in your direct experience suggests you're standing on a spinning sphere hurtling through space at 107,000 kilometers per hour. Your ancestors weren't wrong to struggle with it. You would have struggled with it too. You still do, in ways you don't fully realize. And then came the moment that should have settled everything forever. September 20th, 1519, Ferdinand Magellan leaves Spain with 5 ships and roughly 270 men. His plan: sail west. Keep going west. Eventually, come back from the east. His bet: the Earth is round enough that if you go far enough in one direction, you'll end up back where you started. Your ancestors had been arguing about this theoretically for nearly 2,000 years. Magellan was going to prove it with his body. 3 years later, September 6th, 1522, one ship limped back into the harbor at Seville. 18 men out of 270, barely alive. Having sailed around the entire planet, they went west. They came back from the east. The Earth was round, not theoretically, not mathematically, physically, demonstrably, paid for in human lives. And yet here's what should stop you completely. It didn't convince everyone. Think about how strange that is. Your ancestors had the shadow proof, had the mathematical measurement, had ships that literally sailed around the planet and returned, and some of them still insisted the Earth was flat, not because they were ignorant, because the flat Earth is what you feel, what you see, what every single sensory experience you have confirms every single day. Believing something your senses contradict requires a specific kind of mental work, a willingness to trust evidence over experience, calculation over feeling, and that has always been, for every human who ever lived, the hardest thing to do. Fast forward to 1957, the Soviet Union launches Sputnik, the first human-made object, to orbit the Earth. For the first time in the 300,000-year history of your species, something you built left the surface of the planet and looked back at it from outside. And then in 1972, the crew of Apollo 17 took a photograph. You've seen it, the blue marble, the whole Earth, floating in black space, round, undeniable, the most reproduced photograph in human history. Your species spent 300,000 years trying to figure out the shape of the rock it was living on. And then one camera, one photograph, made it visible in a way no shadow or calculation or circumnavigation ever could. You could just see it. But here's what happened next, and this is the part that says something deeply uncomfortable about you. After all of that, after the shadows and the measurements and the ships and the satellites and the photographs from space, flat Earth theory came back. Not as a fringe belief held by a handful of confused people, as a movement with millions of followers, with conferences, with YouTube channels with tens of millions of views, with communities where ordinary, intelligent people argue with genuine passion that everything your species spent 2,000 years proving is wrong. You probably think those people are crazy, but here's what the psychology actually shows. Flat earthers aren't stupid. Study after study finds they score normally on intelligence measures. What they share isn't low IQ. It's something else entirely, a deep distrust of authority, a preference for direct sensory experience over institutional knowledge, a feeling that they've been lied to about something, and if they've been lied to about one thing, they could have been lied to about everything. Sound familiar? Because that feeling, that specific distrust of what you're told over what you can see with your own eyes, isn't crazy. It's ancient. It's the same instinct that kept your ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Don't trust what you can't verify. Don't accept what you can't see. Question the authority of anyone who claims to know more than you. That instinct saved your ancestors' lives countless times. It's just catastrophically wrong about this one specific thing.